The baby was crying again. Third time that night. She'd started around 2 in the morning, then again at 4, and now it was just after 6 and the sun wasn't even up yet, but my head was already full of static. My wife, Claire, stirred beside me, hair stuck to her cheek, the kind of exhaustion that doesn't sleep, just closes its eyes and hopes. I got it, I mumbled, already halfway to the door. Our daughter, Emma, was a red-faced knot of noise in the bassinet. Her fists clenched, legs kicking against some invisible injustice. I picked her up like I'd been taught in those parenting classes that never mention how much it would hurt just to stay awake. It's okay, I whispered. Sure. I know. I know. I paced the hallway. Bounced. Hummed a melody that might have been a lullaby or just the sound my body made when it was too tired to form words. And then, a knock. Sharp. 2 raps. Not rushed, not hesitant. Just present. I stopped moving. Emma kept fussing in my arms, but softer now, as if even she felt the shift. I glanced at the clock. 6:17 a.m. Too early for mail. Too late for emergency. Too cold for neighbors. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. And everything in my chest stopped moving. There, on the porch, was a man I hadn't seen in over 20 years. Gray hair. Stubbled face. The same tired jaw. My father. The man who walked out when I was 10. The man who never called. The man I buried in every story I told about who I wasn't going to be. I didn't open the door. Just stared. He stood with his hands in his jacket pockets, shoulders slightly hunched, like someone waiting for a bus in a storm that hadn't started yet. He looked up at the peephole. And then he said, "I'd like to meet her." It took me a full minute to speak. "Claire," I called over my shoulder, voice flat. She came around the corner, holding her robe shut, eyes blurry. "What's wrong?" I just pointed. She peered through the peephole. And her whole body went still. She'd seen photos. Heard the stories. Knew the ache in my voice when I talked about him, if I ever did. Now he was here. Real. Solid. Alive. And asking for something he had no right to ask. "What the hell does he want?" she whispered. "He said, he wants to meet her." "Emma?" I nodded. Her face twisted. Half fury, half disbelief. "You want me to, should I call?" "No," I said. Then I opened the door. The air outside was sharp. The kind of cold that settles in the teeth. He didn't flinch when he saw me. Just gave the faintest nod. "Hi, James." I hadn't heard my name in his voice since I was 10. It sounded strange. Like someone singing a song off-key. I didn't say anything. Emma let out a soft, whimpering cry and buried her face in my shoulder. His eyes flicked down to her. And there it was, the reason he came. The crack in the armor. Not to say sorry. Not to fix anything. Not to ask for me. To ask for her. "I know I shouldn't be here," he said. "I know what I did." I still didn't speak. He looked thinner than I remembered. Not frail. Just less. Like time had stripped him down to only what he could carry. "I'm not asking for anything," he added. I heard. Through someone. About the baby." My jaw clenched. He heard. From someone. Not me. Because he didn't deserve to hear it from me. And now he was standing here like a man arriving late to a funeral and hoping the grief would make people generous. "Why now?" I finally said. His eyes didn't leave Emma's. "Because I don't want to disappear twice." I didn't invite him in. I didn't slam the door either. I just stood there, holding my daughter, while the man who broke my life stood 3 feet away and looked at me like I was some impossible thing. "I just want to see her," he said again, quieter. "Just once." "Why?" He blinked. Took a breath. "Because I missed the chance to see you." I could feel something cracking in me. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But the ache of almost. I looked down at Emma. She was dozing now, one tiny hand wrapped around my shirt collar. She didn't know who he was. Didn't know what this moment meant. Didn't carry the weight I carried. And maybe that's what scared me most. That she could grow up without knowing him. Or worse. That she could know him, and end up with the same hollow echo I grew up inside. I stepped back. Didn't open the door wider. But I didn't close it either. I need to think. He nodded. I understand. He turned. Walked down the steps. Didn't look back. Didn't ask when. Didn't push. Just left. And I stood there, baby on my shoulder, door open to the cold, heart on fire. That was the morning my father came back. No warning. No plan. Just a knock. And a question that would follow me for weeks. Do I let him in? The day my father left, he didn't slam the door. He didn't scream. He didn't pack a suitcase in the middle of the night. He just disappeared. I came home from school, dropped my backpack in the hall like always, and noticed his boots weren't by the door. That was the first thing. Then the truck was gone. Then the smell of his aftershave didn't hang in the air. Then my mother said, "Hey, sweetheart, come sit down." I was 10. And something about her voice told me that whatever came next was going to split the world in two. She didn't cry. Not in front of me. Just sat me down on the couch, hands folded in her lap like she was afraid they'd betray her. "Your dad needs some time away," she said. "He's working through some things." I asked if he was coming back. She opened her mouth like she had the answer, but nothing came out. So I asked again, "Is he coming back?" "I don't know," she said. "But we're going to be okay." That was the first lie. And the last thing she said about him for a long time. Here's the thing no one tells you about abandonment. It doesn't feel like an explosion. It feels like static. It feels like waiting for something you don't realize isn't coming. I kept expecting to hear his keys jingle by the door. Kept looking out the window for his truck. Kept listening for the creak of the hallway floor at midnight. And when those things didn't come, I didn't cry. I just learned to stop listening. In middle school, I told people he was working out of state. In high school, I said he died. By college, I said nothing. Just shrugged when someone mentioned Father's Day. Laughed it off when teachers asked what my dad did for a living. Because what do you say? My father walked out and never came back, and I don't know why. I don't know if it was my fault. I don't know if he thinks about me. I don't even know if he's still alive. No one wants that answer. So I said nothing. And over time, nothing became easier to carry than the truth. My mom was strong. But not loud. She didn't talk about him. Didn't bash him. Didn't lift him up either. She just erased him. Wiped him out of the photos. Donated his flannel shirts. Painted over the wall where he once marked my height with a pencil. I did what I had to, she said years later. And maybe she was right. But the silence she left in his place. It wasn't empty. It was a shape I had to grow around. I became quiet. Good at disappearing in a room full of people. I didn't cause problems. Didn't ask for help. Didn't talk about what hurt. Because no one was going to fix it. And asking just made people uncomfortable. So I handled it alone. The bad grades. The nights I couldn't sleep. The time I got in a fight and told the principal I fell down some stairs. I learned how to carry pain like a backpack. Always on. Always heavy. Always mine. But the truth is, I missed him. Not the man. The idea. The smell of coffee and sawdust. The way he used to whistle while shaving. The time he built me a slingshot out of a tree branch and a rubber band and said, "Every boy needs to aim at something." I missed the possibility of a father. Not the one I had. The one I wanted. And that's what makes abandonment so hard. It's not the loss. It's the longing. It's what you build in your head to survive the empty. And what you have to burn down when reality shows up. In my 20s, I started therapy. The first thing the therapist asked was, Tell me about your parents. I froze. Not because I didn't have stories, but because I didn't know which version to give her. The one where he was gentle and funny and took me fishing once? Or the one where he left and never looked back? Both were true, and neither told the whole story. So I said, "My mom raised me," and left it at that. When I met Claire, I told her about him slowly. First it was just, "My dad wasn't around much." Then later, "He left when I was 10. And later still, "I don't think I ever got over it." She didn't try to fix it. Didn't offer platitudes. She just held my hand. And said, "I see you." That's what healed me more than anything else. Not answers. Just being seen. Then we had Emma. And everything broke open again. Because now I was a father. Now it was my job to show up. To stay. To give this tiny, vulnerable human the thing I never had. And I was terrified. Not of the diapers or the sleepless nights, but of the question I couldn't escape. What if I turn out like him? What if something inside me switches off? What if I can't hold it together? What if she looks up at me one day and sees the same vacancy I grew up inside? Claire caught me staring at Emma's crib one night, tears in my eyes, and said, "You're nothing like him." But how could I be sure? I had his blood. His silence. His absence stamped on every page of my childhood. What if it was in me too? What if it was inherited? And then, 25 years after the day he left, he showed up. On my porch. Gray and human and standing 3 feet from my daughter. Saying he wanted to meet her. And suddenly, the silence wasn't just memory. It was present. It had a face again. And it was asking for a second chance. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if I'll let him in. But I know this. I will not disappear. Not from her. Not from myself. Not from the love I am still learning how to hold. Because silence raised me. But I don't have to pass it down. We met in a park. Neutral ground. I chose it. A public space. Safe. Daylight. Somewhere I could walk away if I needed to. I brought coffee. 2 cups. One for him. One for me. I didn't know why. Habit, maybe? Maybe a kindness I hadn't decided I was willing to give. He was already there when I arrived, sitting on a bench near the old duck pond, his back slightly hunched, hands clasped like he was holding something he didn't trust himself not to drop. I almost turned around. But I didn't. I sat down beside him. Left one full seat between us. He looked over, nodded once. "Thanks for meeting me," he said. I didn't respond. Just placed the coffee on the bench between us. He didn't touch it. For a long time, we didn't speak. The park buzzed around us, kids screaming in the distance, dogs tugging at leashes, wind nudging leaves across the ground. He cleared his throat. "I'm not sure where to start." I stared straight ahead. "You left," I said. It came out flat. Not a question. Not an accusation. Just a fact. He nodded. "I did. You never called." "No. You never even tried." His hands clenched. "I tried, James," he said quietly. "I just never followed through." I turned to him then. Not angry. Just searching. "You wrote me letters. I read them." His eyes flicked to mine, cautious. "You did?" "I did. After you were already gone. After there was nothing left to respond to." He looked down. "I wasn't ready back then," he said. "I wasn't. Don't say you weren't ready to be a father." He swallowed. "Okay. Say you were scared. Say you were selfish. Say you wanted out." He nodded slowly. "I was all of those things." "Then say it." "I was scared. I was selfish. I wanted out." I waited. But that was it. No follow-up. No explanation. Just the raw sentence, dropped between us like a stone. And for some reason, it was enough to keep me there. "Why now?" I asked. He shifted. Exhaled. I've been clean for 7 years, he said. After rehab, I moved to Oregon. Got a job at a mill. Nothing special. Just quiet. Stable. I kept to myself. Went to meetings. Got a sponsor. Did the work. Good for you, I said. The words dry in my mouth. I didn't come back before now because I didn't think I had the right. Still don't. Then why now? He looked at me. And this time, he didn't look away. Because I heard you had a daughter. And something about that, it hit me. Hit you how? He took a breath. I miss your whole life, James. Every year. Every birthday. Every scraped knee. Every graduation. I can't change that. But when I heard about her, Emma, it felt like a door cracked open. And I know I don't deserve to walk through it. But I'm standing here anyway. I let the silence grow between us. Then, what do you want? He didn't answer right away. I want to be part of something I didn't ruin. I stared at him. Hard. You don't get that. He nodded. No defense. No fight. Then what do I get? I didn't have an answer. Because I didn't know. We sat for a while longer. Birds cutting across the pond. Wind curling through the branches above. He finally picked up the coffee. Took a sip. Winced. Still hated black. He muttered. I almost smiled. Almost. I can't forgive you, I said. He didn't flinch. I'm not asking you to. Then what are you asking? He looked at me. And this time I saw it. The weight. The years. The regret. The parts of himself he'd buried in the silence. I'm asking for a chance to show you who I am now. That's all. That's not nothing. I know. He stood up. Brushed his hands against his jeans. Looked out over the water like it might give him courage. If you ever change your mind, he said, I'll be here. Not forever. But long enough to prove I mean it. Then he walked away. Didn't ask for another meeting. Didn't ask to hold my daughter. Didn't try to fix anything. He just left. And for the first time in 25 years. He didn't run. I sat there long after he was gone. Coffee cold in my hands. And I didn't know what hurt more. The things he said? Or the fact that, for the first time, I believed him. We met again 2 days later. My choice. I told him I didn't want to meet in a park this time. Didn't want noise. Didn't want distractions. I wanted a door I could close behind me if I needed to. A table. 4 walls. Nothing between us but space we'd have to fill. So we met at a diner. Old. Quiet. Booze torn at the seams. Coffee that tasted like someone else's morning. He was already sitting when I arrived. Same seat. Hands wrapped around a mug like he needed it to steady himself. I didn't say hello. Didn't ask how he was. Just sat down and looked at him like I was looking through him. He met my eyes, then looked away. The waitress brought menus. I waved her off. He ordered toast. I ordered nothing. This wasn't about breakfast. This was about before. You owe me an explanation, I said. He nodded. No hesitation. I know. Not an apology. An explanation. He took a slow breath. And for once, he didn't reach for excuses. I was 26. He began. Scared. Stupid. Addicted to the idea that I was meant for something else, something bigger than bills and diapers and responsibilities I didn't know how to carry. You mean me? He winced. I mean fatherhood. All of it. I thought love would save me, and when it didn't, when I still felt broken, I blamed everything close to me. You blamed me. I blamed myself, James. But I projected it onto you. Onto your mother. I look at you and feel this knot in my chest, not because of who you were, but because of how unworthy I felt to be your father. I didn't respond. I just stared at him until the silence made the air feel thick. You know what I remember? I said. You building me a wooden sword out of 2x4s. You said, every knight needs to protect something. And then you walked away and never came back. His face cracked. I was a child, I said. You were the thing I was supposed to be protecting. You made me feel like that was my job. I never wanted that. But you made it true. He covered his face with his hands. And for a moment, he looked smaller than I remembered. Smaller than I'd ever let myself picture him. Like time had folded him in on himself. I wanted to come back, he said, voice muffled. So many times. Then why didn't you? Because shame grows legs. It starts following you. And after a while, you stop believing you have the right to turn around. You didn't. I know. The toast came. He didn't touch it. I leaned back, arms crossed. You hurt us. You hurt me. And I didn't get to stop loving you just because you disappeared. He looked at me, eyes red. I know. You made me lie to myself. Every year. Every birthday. I'd pretend it didn't matter. Pretend I didn't care. But I did. And I still do. He reached across the table, not to touch, just to place his hand in the open. A gesture. A bridge. An offer. I won't ask you to forgive me, he said. But if there's any part of you that wants to understand me, I'll tell you everything. So I asked? I asked where he went, who he became, how he lived, how many times he tried to get clean, how many women, how many jobs, how many nights he fell asleep wondering what I looked like at 12, 15, 20. And he answered. All of it. Honest. Ugly. Unearned. But it came like floodwater. Like it had been building behind a dam for 2 decades. He told me he wrote me every year but never mailed it. He told me he drove past our old house once and couldn't make himself stop. He told me he saw my wedding photos online and almost called but thought, it's not my day. It never will be again. And for the first time, I saw the weight of it. Not just the absence. The cost. You came back now because of her, I said. Emma, he replied. Yes. Not me. He looked away. Maybe both, he said softly. Maybe I thought if I showed up now, I could stop history from repeating. Maybe I thought I'd done enough work to be trusted with something again. Do you think you have? No, he said. But I'd like to try. The bill came. We split it. I didn't hug him. He didn't ask to. As we stepped outside, the wind had picked up. It felt like fall again, all over. He turned to me, hands buried in his coat. I know this doesn't fix anything. It doesn't. But I'm here. I'm not leaving. Don't make promises you can't keep. I'm not. Good. He walked to his car. But before he got in, he looked back. Thank you, he said. For listening. I didn't answer. But I didn't walk away either. And maybe, for now, that was enough. It was just after 3 a.m. when Emma started crying. I was already half awake. Not from noise. From the kind of exhaustion that doesn't sleep. The kind that waits. The kind that listens, just in case. Claire didn't stir beside me. I didn't wake her. I pulled myself out of bed and walked down the hallway, every floorboard familiar now, every creak a part of our rhythm. Our routine. The new religion of parenthood. Emma was in her crib, squirming beneath the mobile, little stars spinning overhead, mocking her mood. Her face scrunched, fists balled up, voice shaky and rising. I scooped her up without thinking. That part had become easy. The holding. The calming. The way her tiny body fit perfectly against mine, like we were always meant to find each other in the dark. I hummed. Something soft. Wordless. Maybe a song. Maybe just a sound. Her cries quieted. Her hand found my collar and gripped it, like she was tethering herself to earth. And that's when I saw it. Her eyes opened. Wide. Deep. Brown. Not just like mine. Not just like Claire's. Like his. My father's. It hit me like a slow wave, no panic, no tears. Just a gentle, dizzying pull. I stared at her. She stared back. And in that moment, I didn't see him. I saw something before him. Something that had nothing to do with mistakes, or absence, or fear. I saw continuity. Not legacy. Not burden. Just life. Passing forward. Spilling over. Finding its way into someone new. And for the first time since he showed up on my doorstep, I felt something unexpected. Softness. I carried her into the living room. The house was dark. Streetlights flickered outside, throwing broken shapes across the floor. I sat in the armchair, wrapped her in a blanket, and rocked. Slow. Rhythmic. Breathing in sync. She blinked at me. Drowsy. Peaceful. I whispered, "You look like someone I used to know." Not a judgment. A confession. She yawned. Tiny mouth wide. A squeaky sound like she was pretending to be a lion. I smiled. Not forced. Not sad. A real one. And then I said something I hadn't even realized I believed. "He would have loved you." It slipped out of me. And I didn't take it back. Because I think it's true. Not in a fairy tale way. Not in a way that erases what he did. What he didn't do. But in a very simple, very human way. He would have loved her. Because she's easy to love. And maybe that's what broke something in me. The idea that he could have, and didn't. That I did. That I do. That I'm here. Every night. Every cry. Every small, messy miracle. And somehow, I'm not afraid. I used to think fatherhood would be a war I had to fight. A pattern I had to break. And maybe in some ways it is. But that night, it didn't feel like a battle. It felt like a gift. It felt like peace. I pressed my nose to Emma's forehead. Her skin warm, her breath soft. The smell of baby shampoo and sleep. I said, "You are so loved." She blinked once slow. Then her eyelids fluttered shut. And I sat there for a long, long time, holding her against my chest. The man I used to be. The man who left me. The man I'm becoming. All of us, in the same room. All of us. Quiet. We talked after Emma fell asleep. The monitor sat on the nightstand between us, soft static pulsing like a heartbeat, her breath crackling through it every few seconds. Claire was brushing her hair out, sitting on the edge of the bed, knees pulled up. I was standing near the window, arms crossed, chewing on the inside of my cheek like it owed me something. Neither of us said it out loud. We both knew what the conversation was. My father. Him. Again. "I've been thinking," I said. Claire looked up. Calm. Ready. "I know. I mean, about letting him see her." She didn't speak at first. Just nodded. Not agreement, acknowledgement. Then, "Are you sure?" "No." She stood, crossed the room, leaned against the dresser. "I'm not going to stop you," she said. "But I need to know why." That question landed harder than I expected. Why? Why even consider this? Why let a man who walked away from one child put his hands near another? Why risk it? Why open the door? I looked down at the floor like the answer might be there, hiding under the edge of the rug. "I don't know," I said. And that was the truth. She waited. Gave me room. That's what she's always done. Not pushed. Just left space for me to walk into when I'm ready. I sat down on the bed. Ran a hand through my hair. Then I said it. "He's not the same man." "And if he is?" she asked gently. I met her eyes. "If he is, I'll know." Claire came over. Sat beside me. Took my hand. I stared at our fingers. Her wedding ring. My cracked knuckles. She squeezed. "You're a good father," she said. I swallowed. "You don't know that yet." "I do. You've only seen me do it for a month. I've seen you stay." That cracked something open in me. Not a flood. Just a slow leak. Tears I didn't know I needed to cry. She pulled me in. Held the back of my neck. I let my forehead rest against her shoulder. I don't want him to break her, I whispered. He won't, she said. You don't know that. I know you'll never let him. Silence again. The monitor buzzed. Emma shifted in her crib, soft squeak, a little sigh. Claire leaned back. You want to let him meet her? I think so. Not just because you feel guilty? No. Not just because you see pieces of him in her? I nodded. That's part of it. But it's not the only part. What else? I want her to grow up knowing I gave someone a second chance. Claire tilted her head. And if it goes badly? Then we show her how to let go with grace. We sat like that for a long time. The kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled. Then Claire asked, What does he want? To meet her. Nothing more. He hasn't asked for anything else. Yet. I nodded. Yet. She stood, walked to the window, looked out into the dark. Then she said, Okay. That one word. Not approval. Not surrender. Permission. She turned back to me. But it happens here. In our house. With us both here. Of course. And if I ever feel like she's not safe. She is. Claire stepped forward. Laid her hand on my chest. Felt my heart under her palm. She's not the only one I'm protecting, she said. I closed my eyes. Nodded. I know. Later that night, after she fell asleep, I sat in the hallway outside Emma's room. Not doing anything. Just listening. Breathing. Being near. And in the quiet I thought. Maybe this is what breaks the cycle. Not distance. Not punishment. But presence. Sitting with the fear. Holding it. Choosing anyway. The next morning, I sent him a message. Simple. Careful. You can meet her. One visit. At our home. I'll be there. So will Claire. That's the only way. I stared at it for a long time. Then hit send. 5 minutes later he replied. Thank you. I'll be there. There are days I still feel like I'm faking it. Like if someone watched me close enough, they'd see the cracks. The trembling. The way I hold my daughter with the care of a man carrying something he doesn't fully believe he deserves. I know the motions. How to swaddle. How to bounce. How to make nonsense sounds with my mouth until she smiles like I invented the sun. But there are moments, sharp, sudden, where I feel like a kid in a costume. Pretending. Wearing the word father like a jacket I found in someone else's closet. And some nights, I lie awake thinking. How do you become something you never saw? My only blueprint is absence. A man-shaped silence. The echo of keys never jingling in the door. The memory of watching other dads on the sidelines, wondering what that kind of love felt like. My childhood taught me how to survive. Not how to stay. And now, every time I rock Emma to sleep, or clip her nails, or make up a bedtime song I'll never remember again, I feel like I'm threading a needle with no hands. I love her. God, I love her. But sometimes I worry I'm just writing a story in sand, too fragile, too temporary, waiting for the tide to come. And the tide always comes. Right. Claire says I'm doing fine. More than fine. She says I'm present. Patient. Protective in the right ways. She tells me I'm gentle, and I almost laugh every time. Not because it isn't true, but because no one ever taught me that being a man and being gentle could belong in the same sentence. But she says it with such ease, such certainty, that I start to believe it. A little. And maybe that's how we start. One kind word at a time. I had a moment with Emma the other day. She was in my arms, fussing, tears building but not yet falling. I was tired. My back ached. My eyes burned. And I could feel the edge of frustration creeping in. That old voice, the one that always whispered, just walk away. Just leave the room. Just disappear. But I didn't. I breathed. I rocked. I stayed. And after a few minutes she calmed. Not because I fixed anything, but because I didn't move. And I realized something in that moment. Sometimes staying is the whole miracle. I remember the night my father left. Not the details. Just the feeling. The hollow. The click of a door that didn't close all the way. The way my mother sat at the kitchen table and stared at nothing for hours. I remember how loud the silence became after that. I told myself I'd never be that kind of man. But no one tells you how hard it is to unlearn the instincts that were etched into you before you even understood what they meant. Sometimes when Emma cries, I feel that old panic rise. That get out now voice. But I hold her tighter. Whisper, I'm not going anywhere. And every time I say it, I believe it a little more. There's a photo on our fridge. Me and Emma. She's on my chest, asleep. I'm smiling. Real. Claire took it when I wasn't looking. Sometimes I stare at it like it belongs to someone else. A man who knows what he's doing. A man who didn't grow up inside a wound. But that man is me. And I'm starting to think maybe, just maybe, I can be both. A father made from pain. And a father who breaks the pattern anyway. One night, I stood in Emma's doorway after she fell asleep. Watched her chest rise and fall. Watched her fists unclench. Watched the peace on her face and wondered what it would have felt like to fall asleep like that as a child. Safe, warm, loved without condition. And I whispered, I'll give you the thing I never had. Not out of revenge. Not out of guilt. But because it's possible. Because staying is hard. But it's worth it. Because I want her to grow up knowing that love doesn't leave when it gets heavy. My father was never there to show me how to hold a baby. But maybe that's okay. Maybe that gave me the freedom to build this differently. No anger. No shouting. No walking out. Just me. And her. And the slow work of learning how to be what I never saw. If Emma ever asks me about him, about the man who came before me, I'll tell her the truth. That he left. That it hurt. That it took me a long time to forgive. That maybe I never fully did. But I'll also tell her this. He made me want to do better. And that matters too. I'm still scared. Most days. But I've stopped letting the fears speak louder than the love. And that's what fatherhood is, I think. Not knowing. But staying anyway. He showed up on time. 5 minutes early, actually. Wearing a collared shirt I didn't recognize, probably bought for this. Hair combed, eyes wide like someone walking into a place they weren't sure they were allowed to be. I opened the door before he could knock. Claire stood behind me, Emma in her arms. She didn't say much. Just looked at him with that cautious, assessing stillness she wears like armor when she's unsure. Hi, he said. Voice quiet. Small. Claire nodded once. Then handed Emma to me, kissed the top of her head, and stepped into the kitchen. She didn't leave the room. But she left the moment to us. He stood on the threshold. Didn't move. Didn't reach. Just looked at her. And something broke in his face. Not tears. Not quite. But a softening I'd never seen before. Like his whole body sighed. Like a part of him that had been clenched for years finally remembered how to loosen. I didn't hand her to him. Not right away. I just stood there, holding her the way I've learned to, hand at the base of her head, her body cradled into mine like a secret. This is Emma, I said. He smiled. Shaky. She's beautiful. I nodded. She looks like you. Maybe, I said. I see it in her eyes. I didn't answer. He stepped inside when I nodded. We didn't go to the couch. We just stood there. 3 generations in a hallway full of unsaid things. Emma made a little noise, a soft sigh, a small grunt. My father leaned in, instinctively, and smiled. She has your chin. I don't remember yours. His eyes met mine. Still. It's there. I looked down at Emma. Her eyes open now. Calm. Trusting. Completely unaware of the storm circling around her. She's just eaten, I said. He nodded. I don't need to hold her. I raised an eyebrow. I mean, I want to. But only if it's okay. That was new. The old version of him, the one I remember, he never asked. He just took. He moved without permission. Spoke without thinking. Disappeared without warning. But this man, he waited. And something about that made me say, here. He took her slowly. Like she was fire. Held her close, one hand at her back, the other curled around the bottom of her foot. Emma blinked. Then smiled. That big, toothless grin that turns people into puddles. And for the first time, he laughed. Not loudly. But fully. And I didn't expect it, but my chest tightened. Because it wasn't fake. It wasn't performative. It was the sound of someone feeling joy they didn't think they were allowed to feel anymore. Claire stepped into view then, leaning against the doorway to the kitchen. She watched them. Didn't speak. Just observed. And I could see it on her face, the calculation, the protection, the fear. But also, just for a second, a flicker of something else. Possibility. He sat on the couch. I watched him from across the room, tense at first, then not. Emma babbled. Waved her arms. Reached for his beard and yanked. He winced, then laughed again. You're strong, he said to her. And then, almost without thinking, just like your dad. I flinched. But I didn't shut down. We talked. Not much. Just little things. He asked about her favorite toy. Claire answered. He asked how sleep was going. We both laughed. He didn't press. Didn't tell stories. Didn't try to be someone he wasn't. He just was. And that was more than I expected. After a while, Emma started getting fussy. Her usual, I'm done now, signal. Claire took her. Whispered something to her. Walked back down the hall. He stood. I should go. I nodded. He handed me a small envelope before he left. What is it? Just a letter. For her. For later. I didn't take it. Not yet. He didn't force it into my hand. Just placed it on the entry table. Then turned to leave. Before he walked out the door, he paused. Then turned back. Thank you, he said. For today. I said nothing. But I didn't close the door until I saw his car pull away. That night, I opened the letter. Just glanced. Didn't read it all. The first line said, to the girl I met once and felt like I'd always known. I folded it. Placed it in the box where we keep her hospital bracelet and her first photo. Not because I trust him yet. But because one day, she'll want the whole story. And I want her to have it. Even the parts that still hurt. Forgiveness is not a door you walk through once. It's a hallway. And some days I move forward in it. Other days I press my forehead against the wall and wonder why I'm here at all. I thought seeing him with Emma would give me clarity. It didn't. It gave me noise. Soft, subtle, low-frequency noise. The kind that hums just beneath the surface. The kind you can't hear until you're alone, brushing your teeth, folding laundry, watching your daughter blink up at you like you hung the moon. And in that quiet, the question comes back. Can I forgive him? Not. Do I want to? Not. Does he deserve it? Just, can I? And if I can, should I? I sat on the edge of Emma's crib the night after the visit, watching her sleep. She had one hand stretched above her head, fingers curled. Her mouth opened and closed like she was dreaming of something warm. I traced the soft line of her forehead with my eyes and thought, what will she inherit from me? Because it won't just be eye color or posture or the way I talk with my hands. She'll inherit my silences. My wiring. My softness, sure, but also my fear. She'll inherit how I handle pain. And if I hold on to this resentment like a family heirloom, she'll carry it too, without ever knowing where it came from. That's what scared me. More than the past. More than him. The future. I talked to Claire. Late one night. One of those conversations that start in the kitchen and end on the floor, legs crossed, backs against the cabinets. I don't know what forgiveness is supposed to feel like, I said. She passed me a mug of tea. It's not a feeling, she said. It's a choice you make over and over. I don't think I can forget what he did. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. I nodded. Took a sip. She looked at me carefully, then asked, Do you want him to hurt, or do you want to heal? It landed so gently I didn't flinch. I just said, I want to be free. That's when I understood it. Forgiveness wasn't for him. It was for me. For Emma. For the father I'm still becoming. Forgiveness is laying down the weapon you've carried so long you forgot it was heavy. It's not saying, You didn't hurt me. It's saying, You did. But I'm not going to live in that wound anymore. It's looking at the past and saying, You don't get to raise my daughter with me. The next day, I found a park bench. Same one where he and I first sat. I took the journal I'd been keeping since Emma was born. And I wrote, I forgive you. Not because you asked? Not because you've changed. But because I'm tired of carrying you like a ghost on my back. Because I want my daughter to know that love can stretch further than pain. This doesn't mean we start over. It means I'm not spending the rest of my life trying to rewrite the beginning. It means I'm choosing peace. Not for you. For me. I didn't sign it. Didn't send it. Didn't even tear the page out. But it felt like a shift. A quiet, seismic shift. Later that week, I called him. Just to talk. No big moment. No milestone. We talked about how cold it had gotten. About a new sound Emma makes when she's hungry. About nothing. And at the end, before I hung up, I said, I don't hate you. He didn't respond for a moment. Then, Thank you? Not, I'm sorry. Just thank you. That was enough. Forgiveness doesn't rebuild a house. It just stops you from standing in the ashes. And now I have other things to build. A life. A family. A love that shows up, every day, even when it's tired. Especially then. I held Emma tonight while Claire cleaned up the kitchen. She babbled, looked up at me, one hand gripping my shirt. I looked down at her and whispered, You'll never wonder if I loved you. Because that's the legacy I want to leave. Not perfection. Not performance. Just presence. Over and over and over again. He didn't die. He didn't relapse. Didn't vanish in the middle of the night. Didn't write a dramatic letter or burn a bridge or leave me standing in a parking lot with a memory I didn't ask for. He just moved on. And for the first time in my life, that felt okay. It had been 6 months since the visit. Since Emma smiled at him, and he smiled back like it hurt. We talked a few times after that. Not often. Just enough. He'd call to check in. Ask about her milestones. Send a birthday card on Claire's birthday, even though he never met her properly. And once, just once, he emailed me a photo of the trail he hikes every morning. Captioned, Still putting one foot in front of the other. That was the thing about him. When he did show up, it was always quietly. No apologies anymore. No speeches. Just proof of life. Then one day, I got a voicemail. Not his. A woman's voice. Kind. Steady. Said she was his neighbor in Oregon. Said he'd moved out. Sold the house. Left a few things behind, mostly junk, except for one box. Your name was on it, she said. There's a letter inside. I gave her my address. Didn't ask questions. Just waited. The box arrived 2 weeks later. Not large. Not heavy. Inside, a leather-bound notebook, an old photo of me as a toddler, one I'd never seen, and a single envelope with my name written in handwriting that had grown shakier over the years. I opened the envelope. James, by the time you read this, I'll be somewhere quieter. Not gone, just done chasing things that won't come back. I don't want this to be a sad letter. I've written those. Too many. This one is a thank you. for letting me meet her. For letting me see what kind of man you became. You're nothing like me. And somehow still, I see myself in you. But better. Warmer. Whole. I know we didn't get much time. I know I didn't earn more. But if I gave you anything, if I left anything behind that mattered, I hope it was this, proof that people can change. That the story doesn't end with failure. I won't ask for more. You gave me enough. And if she ever asks about me, just tell her I smiled when I saw her. That I loved her, in the short, quiet way I knew how. Keep going. Stay kind. Stay present. That's everything. Dad. I read it twice. Then I set it down. I didn't cry. Not like before. Not like I had to bleed to feel it. I just sat there. And let it be what it was. A letter from a man who finally understood how to say goodbye. Claire came home that evening with Emma asleep in the car seat. I showed her the letter. She read it slowly. Pressed her lips together. "He's not coming back," I said. She looked at me. "Are you okay?" I thought about it. Really thought. Then I said, "Yeah. I think I am." We buried the letter beneath the tree in the backyard. Not a ceremony. Just something private. Just me and Emma. She toddled around the grass, chasing wind, as I folded the note and tucked it beneath a few scoops of earth. I didn't say anything out loud. Didn't need to. Some things don't need a speech. Some things just need release. I still carry him. Not like I used to. Not as weight. Not as wound. But as memory. As proof that loss doesn't have to shape your whole life, just the part that teaches you where the edges are. Sometimes I tell Emma stories about when I was a little boy. Not about him. Not directly. But about camping trips we never took. About made-up adventures with the father I wish I'd had. And every time I finish, I kiss her forehead and say, "I'll be here tomorrow." And then I show up. That's the difference. He left. I stay. He didn't stay. But this time, I know what to do with the ache. I name it. I thank it. And I let it walk beside me. While I walk forward. Holding her hand.